Let's review the key concepts of ideologies. Your ideology is how you interpret the world around you, and it influences your actions. No person, group, or state is purely one ideology, which is why we look at ideologies in terms of spectrums. One of the most basic ways to classify an ideology is whether it's individualist or more collectivist. An individualist is someone who focuses on the values of self-reliance and freedom from authority. For example, an individualist wants the chance to start their own business without high levels of government regulation getting in the way of their success, which also means if they fail at that business, the government's not going to be there to bail them out. A collectivist is someone who believes in working together to achieve success. They see the importance of the group coming before the individual. For example, in Canada, we have universal health care, which we all pay into regardless of how much we use it, because we believe that should be a shared responsibility. Historically, humans were more collectivist. We needed each other to survive. The buffalo jump wouldn't work if only one person was trying to force a herd of buffalo off a cliff. During medieval times, most people were poor and identified themselves with their community or occupation rather than an individual identity. Even early Christians held everything in common with each other. But the spread of new ideas during the Renaissance and Enlightenment had people seeing things differently. Even art took on a more individualist tone. Instead of focusing on religious themes, they became more humanistic. Politics and economic systems changed as people saw the value of their individual contributions, leading to the establishment of democracy and capitalism. Okay, let's go into a bit more detail. There's a lot of ideas that help us to identify if somebody's an individualist. One of these is rule of law. That means no one is above the law, which is an idea that dictators do not like. The idea of political equality is individualist because each individual is being treated the same way. Another one is the idea of individual rights. Everyone in society should have the privilege of, say, speaking their mind or associating peacefully with others. That every individual should have the right to own their own property. Now, on that note, private property is really important to individualists because it encourages people to participate in society and follow the rules. Because if everybody follows the rules, everybody's property is protected, and you can even get more property. It's in your own self-interest. That also relates to rule of law, because you need to protect that property, including intellectual property, which means you should be paying to download your music. That idea of self-interest relates to economic freedom. By having the freedom to buy and sell what I want and to compete with others in the interest of making a profit, all of society will benefit because I'm selling what you want, your money allows me to get what I want. Adam Smith called this whole thing the invisible hand. What about a collectivist? One of the main ways to identify if someone is a collectivist is how important it is to them that we have economic equality. That doesn't necessarily mean we're all going to have the same amount of money, but with the government redistributing the income, we can make it more equal. An example of this would be progressive taxation, where the government taxes the rich more and uses that money to help the poor. Public property is also important to a collectivist because private property can lead to greed and disparity. Instead, if we allow the government to own the property, we can all enjoy it. Imagine if Banff National Park was owned by a major corporation and charged $1,000 just to go visit. Unions are also collectivist because they work in the collective interest and believe in collective responsibility. That means they may have to sacrifice some of what they want, their individual needs, and will cooperate in order to ensure all the employees are taken care of. Finally, there's the idea of collective norms. While individualists believe in rule of law, collectivists see this as a way for people to run into conflicts because they'll just keep saying, I have the right to do this. Instead, in a collectivist society, everyone voluntarily follows what the community has decided is acceptable because there's pressure to work with your community. Okay, here's an example. I have some neighbors with really loud trucks. I'm not breaking the law, they say, when the mom across the street comes over to complain that the noise woke up her kids from their afternoon nap. That's an example of rule of law. Each individual is allowed to do what they want as long as it's not breaking the law. But in a collectivist society, they would try more to be good neighbors. Okay, can you tell the difference now between an individualist or a collectivist? Well, what about somebody who's working at the mall? Are they collectivist or individualist? They're individualist because they're working to make money for themselves, a profit motive, and they really don't have a collective responsibility for their coworkers. What about an individual volunteering for the Red Cross? They're collectivist because they're giving up their time in order to help others in the community. In Canada today, we strive to find a balance between individualism and collectivism in order to provide the best quality of life for everyone, the common good. That means we have freedoms that are protected by law, individualism. For example, freedom of speech. But that freedom is also controlled in order to protect others, like hate speech legislation that doesn't allow you to spread racist ideas. A collectivist idea we have is we all have to pay taxes because it's in the interest of the common good that we all share the cost of building and maintaining roads. All right, there you have it, the basic ideas of the basic building blocks of ideology.